Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
New day, everyone.
Good morning.
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 I see there are a few people still connecting their audio, so I'm just giving them a few minutes to get connected. Yeah, I see it, I see it.
Mhm.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do introductions. If somebody could just give me a thumbs up so that I know you guys can hear me loud and clear. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Good morning and welcome to our Youth Development Capacity Building Collaborative training. Today's training is all about an overview for the collaborative and doing business with the Children's Trust. Sorry, I'm letting people in at the same time. So I am, for those of you who I have not met, and I'm the one talking, I have a mask on, so just in case you can't tell. I am Christy Goldwire. I'm the Director of Program Operations here at the Children's Trust. And we have 2 additional trust staff on the line as well, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Belita James, and I am a contract manager here at the Children's Trust.
Dion Carruthers. Yeah, I'm also a contract manager here at Children's Trust.
All right, thank you guys. Let more people in. We want to start off by letting you all know that this training is being recorded, and it is our expectation that each organization has a representative participating on the training live, and not just going back to watch it at a later date. So to qualify for the capacity building funding, along with other qualifications, it is the expectation of the trust that each organization have a representative during the live trainings as well. You can go back and watch them at a later date. You can have your staff watch them at a later date, but we need at least one person from your organization to be present during the live training. All right, and then now I am going to turn it over to Anna.
All right. Hello, good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, woo, exciting. Hi, y'all. I'm Anna Delernia. I'm a consultant with the Children's Trust of Alachua County. I'm so excited to have you guys here. One of my favorite things is join peer groups like this and helping to support capacity building, particularly when it comes to the world of youth development. So very exciting to have you all here, especially on a morning on Zoom. So I hope you guys are here to collaborate with us and to work with your peers. So I have the slides. So today what we're going to go over is, first off, introductions. Today, again, is the launch of the Youth Development Capacity Building Collaborative. So it's very much building up the system of Alachua County, and you are the providers who wanted to be part of this. So we want you guys to know each other. And we're also going to go over some of the baseline survey responses that you already shared with us. And then another topic we'll be covering is doing business with the Children's Trust of Alachua County. We want you to have a good understanding of how to get contracts from the Children's Trust of Alachua County and what that process typically means, right? Throughout the process, we will have Q&A, and I encourage you to do that Q&A by unmuting yourself and just asking questions. We're not going to be formal here. There's not going to be a Q&A specific start or stop time. If you have a question, feel free free to unmute yourself. You can put it in the chat as well. But really, again, the idea is that this is a dialogue. So again, very excited for you all to be here today. So to start off, I would love for everybody to give an introduction. So tell me your name, your organization, your role, and a lesson you learned from a youth or a child. So I will go first, and then I will pick somebody, and then you'll pick another person. Okay. So my name is Anna Delernia. I'm a consultant, and I run my organization is called Level Up Impact Group. My role is to help convene you all throughout this process. And a lesson I learned from a youth or child. So maybe 10 years ago or so, I was the camp director for spring break camp down in South Florida, which Gould's area, which is a very rural, low-income area. And as a camp director, I had counselors come to me and, get support for the kids that were in the program. And one of the counselors came to me with a child that was just having all kinds of behavioral issues, just, acting out, all kinds of things. And I was like, okay, can you just bring the kid to me? Let me see if I can talk to him, see what's going on. And I heard from the kid, and he told me he was hungry. And I just in my brain, it just didn't make any sense, because I was like, we gave them 2 meals a day and double snacks, and just didn't make any sense to me, why this kid would be hungry. But I was like, you know what? Let me really listen. I'm like, I know what we're providing at the camp, but at the same time, let me listen to them. I was like, okay, well, we have extra food in the kitchen. Let me just bring over to the kitchen, get him some extra food. And I just gave him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And that kid for the rest of the camp was amazing and so participatory and everything. So a lesson learned I have is just really listen. Even though in your adult head, kind of in your head, what works for 99% of the kids, you got to listen to them. So that was a lesson learned that I learned and still take to heart. Is just because you have a perception of what's going on. Sometimes, you got to listen to what's really going on. And because it can just be something as simple as, an extra sandwich. And I told that kid the rest of the entire camp, I was like, if you're ever hungry, just come find me. We'll get you food. Don't worry. And it was I think that just that little thing made a huge difference in his life. So, and camp life, he became he got camper awards and all kinds of stuff. So it was very exciting to see that. So I will pick somebody. I will pick Jennifer McClure, and then you'll pick the next person. So go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I do have a sidekick, Pam Lore, my partner in crime, in fun.
Yes.
Yeah, we also have the food. We're with Traveling Art Camp, by the way, but food is definitely a mood changer.
Yeah,
we learned early on. That's why we just shove it in their hand when they're crying or have behavioral issues. So that's true.
It can definitely turn a mood around. Yeah, a snack is
But I think just recently we learned listening is crucial, because every child's perception comes from a different place. And sometimes it comes from trauma that you have no idea, so trauma-based behavior, that's a whole nother world. So we had to really be careful not to judge each child, for their behavior without really listening too. So that was a game changer for us this last camp. And so we had several children just change from angry
apprehensive too, not wanting to do anything. Yeah.
To just trusting us and having fun. So that was great for us.
Yeah, getting to know them is key. We feel getting to know diving more into the situation, not, if they're having a bad day, what's going on, and not just kind of, writing it off as this kid is having a bad day, but kind of finding out what's going on with this kid. That's, how can we help you have a better day? So it was definitely a learning experience.
It was helpful though.
Very helpful.
It did make the environment much better when we did not judge each child the same as a group. It made it much better. And we learned there was maybe 5 different situations where we had to just step back and say, we cannot judge.
What's going on here?
Yeah. And sometimes it was so simple, these kids would just say something very simple, they missed their mom. They hadn't seen their mom in a year.
Yeah.
And then just taking that information and nurturing that child for, several days like a mom might, like, oh, let me see what you're doing, changed his behavior. He melted into who he really was, not like the facade came down.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So that
Yeah,
was-
much more approachable.
Yeah, that was great.
Amazing. All right. Well, pick somebody else to go next. And
Oh, let's see.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't know. I see one face. Let's pick the one face we see.
there we go. Oops, I
Oh,
moved it.
hello.
Here, let's go with this.
Dylan. Dylan looks ready. Dylan Power. Oh, there he is.
Hello. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear? I guess you can hear me as well. My name is Dylan Power. I am from the Cade Museum for Creativity and Invention. I am the outreach coordinator. So I connect all of our STEAM education to the community. That is really my role. I'm building the bridge to the innovation economy in our community. And my answer to this question is pretty cliche, but I think just the other day we were at a Gainesville Housing Authority community, and we like to ask what the kids want to be when they grow up, to kind of, it's also it's a good exercise to kind of see where they are at creatively, how they are thinking at that age. And you know, the kid, he said he wants to be a scientist and have an underwater science lab. And that was, I think I learn from the kids every day, but especially about creativity and thinking outside of the box. And I think it's really easy for all of us to just lose that spark as we get older and stop thinking like that. So I think the lesson of just being able to think creatively about life, it brings a lot more joy to life. So I think that's a big one that I learned. And my next shout out is gonna be Catherine Carey. You go for it, my fellow museumer.
All right, thank you, Dylan. Well, yes, I'm Catherine Carey. I'm at the Florida Museum. I'm the Educations Programs Coordinator, and I've been in museum or zoo education for almost 40 years now. And my story goes way back to the beginning of my career. We were having a envelope stuffing party in my science center to get Christmas cards out to the members. And we had a toddler come up, sit down and start stuffing the envelopes with us. And I thought, you know, even at this age, this kid wants to help. And I remember that always, that given an opportunity, a child wants to be part of the group and wants to help others. So give them an opportunity to do it.
awesome. And pick someone else to go next.
I'll pick a name that sounds like mine. How about Carrie Neal?
Good morning, everyone. My name's Carrie. I'm with Kids Count in Alachua County. I'm the executive director. Something I've learned from youth is that there's always a reason behind their behavior, which is really similar to adults. I've learned, you know, when something's going on with us, you know, we could be in a bad mood or exhibit certain behaviors. So always trying to get to the why behind behaviors is something that I've become passionate about when working with our kids. So next I'll call on John Rollins. Miss you, John.
Are you there, John?
You're muted, John.
John, you're on mute.
Oh,
Trying to do it
there you go.
through my phone. No, I'm here. I was trying to do it through my phone because of my Wi-Fi. So my name is John Rollins. I'm trying to turn my volume down on my phone now. I am the president CEO of Motivate You of North Central Florida. I'm serving as the interim operations director with the YMCA. a lesson that I learned from a child or youth is forgiveness. The other day, we had a couple of students who had a disagreement. One was tired, and I say that I learned this recently, but it's not something that I've just learned. But I understand that our children, our youth, they're taught to hold grudges. That's just a learned behavior from something that they see modeled in their environments. And so, but if they are allowed to just be who they are, they can get over things quickly. They can restore friendships, and I think they can set a good example for a lot of us as adults as well. Just kind of let things go and move on, accept the value that each person brings, and then keep those relationships strong. And I think Bishop Stokes looks like he's ready to say something.
All right, way to go there, John Rollins. My name is Bishop Chris Stokes, and I am the Executive Director of the Willie Mae Stokes Community Center in Micanopy, as well as the Senior Pastor of the New Beginning Christian Worship Center in Micanopy. My role here is the director. I direct the programs along with the services that we provide here in Micanopy. And having worked with young people for many years, the lesson that I've learned is to be sincere. That the kids, they pick up on who really is for them. And when they learn that they really can trust you, they will walk miles and miles and do wonderful things for you. So the thing that I've learned the most is be real with the person who you say you are and to the people that you are serving. And I will go to now, because she just looked down, Sheree Kelly.
Thank you, Pastor Stokes. Good to see you. I'm Sheree Kelly from the Library Partnership with Partnership for Strong Families, and I'm the manager here of the Resource Center. And one of the things that I've learned with kids throughout the years is that one, the kids are very resilient. That doesn't mean that they can take any and everything, but they are very resilient. And so they have a lot of abilities if we work with them to continue to grow and to flourish. But then also that we have to children have the same needs as adults. And sometimes they might not show it or they might not tell you. But sometimes, you know, kids can be just kind of taken for granted, like, oh, we can just change your schedule and it's not going to bother you. Whereas if someone were to walk in and change our own schedule as an adult, we'd be like, what? You know, it would throw us off. So we just have to keep that in mind with kids and treat them like they have some control over their world, and that their feelings and thoughts about how things go in their day are just as important as us as adults.
Awesome. You want to pick another person to go?
Yes, because she contacted me recently by email and I hadn't talked to her in a while, Miss Leah.
Good to see you. Hi, I'm Leah Gallagher. I'm with the Gainesville Bridge Literacy Program. I'm the director of our program here in Gainesville. So the one thing, this is very basic, but we provide literacy tutoring online for students over Zoom, soon to be a different portal with the help of United Way. But we, when I train my reading coaches, I always talk about the way that you phrase questions. And this is so very basic. I have 5 kids of my own, and why I did this one time in a tutoring session, I have no idea. But you know, you have kids that when you ask them things a certain way, they're gonna, you know, answer it the way that you don't want them to. And so the age-old rule of never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. And I had said, can you read this for me? And the child said, no. And so I always make sure to, when I'm training my tutors, that you don't have to be mean about it, but you give commands in a respectful and loving way, but never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. So instead of saying, can you read this, just say, hey, read this for me. And so again, something really silly and basic, but changing the way that we ask questions sometimes. So, and because she's my neighbor, I'm going to turn this over to Karji Scott.
Thank you so much, Leah. And it's so nice to meet each and every one of you. Good morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Karji Scott, and I'm with Education Equalizers, which is an organization I founded 2 years ago, which is in the process of turning into a nonprofit foundation. And our mission is to enroll Black, minority, first-generation college students into school and help them prosper in life. For the past 20 years, I've worked at a number of universities and trade schools. I recently had a project with Vanderbilt University. I currently am working at Tennessee State University, and I'm new to Gainesville, although I already have made family and friends, and I see some of you on this call. The lesson that I've learned from children is that, or youth, is that they want to learn. They want to have an opportunity to make mistakes and fail forward.
Oh, I think you froze. Dr. Scott, I think you might have froze. So I'm going to pick the next person, Dr. Glory Peters.
Morning, everybody. I am with the Boys and Girls Club of Clubs of Northeast Florida. We have 2 clubs in Gainesville, Woodland Park and the Northwest Club, and I serve as the director of grants and foundations. What I've learned from kids in general is that as adults, we tend to put complex layers on problems and situations, anticipate every possible negative outcome. Kids have shown me, Ms. Peters, it don't take all that. Laugh a little bit, it's not that serious. And when you really think about it, it's not that serious. So kids help me to focus on issues from a simplistic standpoint as much as you can, because some situations are complex, but for the most part, don't make it a problem until it becomes a problem. Right. And my colleague, Dr. Laban Doyle. Is he on here?
Don't know if I see that person on here.
Okay, well, let's go with Miss Arrington, Christy.
Hey there. I'm Christy Arrington. I'm with Girls Place, and I am the executive director of Girls Place. My coworker fortunately stepped away to go interview someone because we're, as everyone else, building our team. I appreciate all the lessons everyone's learned, and I echo them for sure. I would say another lesson I've learned is really being present with the kids, and we want that, just like you all said, we want it for each other as adults, and the kids really want it and need it, and technology just makes it so easy not to be present. And so that's my takeaway.
Awesome. Pick another person. Go for
I
it.
would like to pick, I'll go for Latoya Lopez.
Go. Good morning. I'm Latoya Lopez. I am the owner and CEO of Just For Us Education. And the lesson that I learned is that children or youth do prefer structure with freedom. It's just this misconception that kids just want to live around and run around free. No, they want the freedom to choose structure. That's what I always say. So they do like structure.
Awesome. All right, pick your next person.
I will pick Miss Couture over at Caring and Sharing.
Good morning. Hey, Toya. Hi, everyone. My name is Katura Bailey Acevedo. I work at, I'm actually here for I Am STEM Camp, which is an international STEM brand that does have a location here in Gainesville at Caring and Sharing Learning School. And I am the on-site director here at this location. And my lesson that I am constantly learning about from children is that they can take the weight of our adult expectations that we place upon them, but they do it so much better with that applied grace and mercy and understanding, like so many of you mentioned, with just really seeing them as people and, you know, understanding that sometimes these children are loud just because they simply wish to be heard. And so that's something that I do try to do and try to do better as I'm growing into this. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'm happily passing the mic to, my very good friend, Nkwanda Ja.
Good morning. Thank you, Katura. My name is Nkwanda Ja. I am the Executive Director of the Cultural Arts Coalition. And I agree with other people on this call who said that they learned to listen to young people. This past summer, due to the increase in youth violence, gang violence in our community, we had a meeting with young people, and the adults were told to shut up and listen to our young people. And I learned from that meeting how gangs recruit our young people. I learned that our young people have needs that any normal young person would have, that our community should be providing for them, and we are not. So I learned a lot from young people from listening, and I would encourage others to listen to our young people. They know a lot more than we give them credit for. And I will pass to Reverend Rawls.
Thank you, Madam. My name is Ron Rawls. I'm the pastor of Greater Bethel AME Church. And I guess something that I learned from young people is that the young people come to the table with different things. And unless we take the time to listen, we'll never understand what those different things are. And it's hard to get the best out of someone when you don't understand the things that are unique to them. But we can't know it all. You have to listen, like Nkwanda Ja says, you have to listen and understand the differences in our children so that you can pull the best out of our children. And I'm going to pass it to Shonda Maze.
Hi, my name is Shonda Maze. I am the founder of SOAR Mentoring Services. It's a 501c3 nonprofit that was founded because I am a single mother of 3 boys. So I kind of know the difficulties and the struggles that the children go through and face as far as needing a trustworthy adult, from dealing with my kids from sports to education to just emotional problems. So basically, SOAR was founded for adult mentoring services and to just be that outlet for children. Children need to be listened to, as everybody stated, but children also need to have an adult that they can confide in and trust in on an emotional level, on an educational level, and on just a level of life in general that they can talk to, that can mentor them. So basically, that's what SOAR Mentoring Services was founded for. Right. And I will pass it on to, trying to see somebody that has not been called. Has Dr. Gloria Peters been called?
Yes.
Okay. So I will pass it on to Melissa Graham.
Melissa Graham. I'm with Santa Fe College Community Education. I'm one of the coordinators and for both community ed and our College for Kids program. I guess what I've learned from kids is, they gravitate towards what they want to know or what they love, and they soak things up even unintentionally.
All right. You want to pick another person?
Roslyn Roberts.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I was having technological difficulties over here trying to figure out how to turn everything on. I'm Roslyn Roberts, and I work alongside Melissa Graham and Jennifer Mullis at Santa Fe College in the Community Education and the College for Kids departments. One thing I have learned from kids is they are resilient. Basically, even despite all the COVID craziness and all the changes that were very quickly thrown upon them and us as well, they handled it so much better than we did. I feel like, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, I felt like they handled it a lot better. But I've also learned there's definitely like a correlation between like their resiliency to also like how passionate they are about the subject matter that is in front of them to learn. And especially given like with the College for Kids program, when we got back together this summer for our camp, I mean, the kids were just chomping at the bit. They didn't care they had to wear a mask. They didn't care that they could only be there half the day. They didn't care. They were just excited to be there, and they were just so attentive, just soaking it all up. And it was inspiring and something I want to strive to be more resilient like they are. So I'm going to pass it off to Jennifer Mullis.
I'm Jennifer Mullis. I'm with Santa Fe College. I'm the coordinator for community education. And I'm going to kind of add on to what Roslyn said earlier. One of the things that we noticed this year, the kids were resilient, but, a lot of our kids that came back to camp this year were coming from, homeschool environments or virtual environments. In many cases, they hadn't really done a lot. This summer was really the first time that they were able to engage back with other students. And we noticed, it was the first day of camp, like they were ready to go, but there was that nervousness, that hesitation. And we had, talked with all of our instructors and encouraged everyone, to make sure we were doing icebreakers and getting the kids to engage. And they came back really quickly, but we did, it's kind of like there was a little bit of hesitancy because they weren't quite, they'd been kind of out of that environment for a while. And it was really an incredible thing to watch them, how quickly they were able to start engaging with one another and really be creative and make new friendships and learn. But I think all of that, just goes back to, making sure they're in a safe environment with people that are present and engaging with them. And when you give them that structure and a safe environment to do that, it's amazing to see what comes out of that, their creativity, how they engage with one another. And, it's just amazing to watch that this summer.
Awesome. I'm going to pick another person, and I will say, can we go a little lightning round so we can get started on program?
Has Angela Howard been?
Do not believe so. Angela?
Good morning. I'm Angela Howard, and I serve as the president and CEO of the North Central Florida YMCA. One thing quickly I can say, our perception is not necessarily the reality of someone, and everybody's been saying it take time to listen, learn a child, love on the child, and get to be there where they're at to understand what their true reality is, not based upon your first perception of them. And I will pick quickly. Addison from Aces in Motion.
Thank you, Angela. Great to see everybody. My name is Addison Staples. My organization is Aces in Motion. I'm the executive director, and a lesson I learn every day from youth is to stay motivated, and the energy you bring into the room is typically the energy that you're going to get out of your students. And so I'm constantly reminded that kids will sniff out if you're faking it. And so to try to be as real and authentic at all times as possible. And I will pass it to my friend Alberto Lopez.
Thanks, Addison. So my name is Alberto Lopez, and I'm the Youth Outreach Coordinator at the Florida Museum of Natural History. One thing I've learned from children is there used to be this activity that I always would do, hands-on activity, and I would explain it in the most convoluted way, and I literally saw, I think it was a first grader or kindergartner, do the activity in the simplest way possible, and it blew my mind. And from that day forward, I always explained that activity as that first grader. So as an adult, you learn things from kids every single day, and I'm amazed on how simple they see life and how complicated we see it sometimes. So that's it for me. And I have no idea who's left.
How about Joyce Peppel?
Hi, everybody. Thank you. My name's Joyce Peppel. I'm a co-founder, secretary-treasurer of New Tech Now. We teach technology to children, and the thing that I have gotten from this whole organization and it functions and experience is how excited children are to learn new things. And if we teach them with something exciting, they will learn. And we work a lot with special ed children, and it just amazes me how smart those children are if they are interested in what they do. And that gives, I don't know, we are not around children day in, day out like you are. We kind of drop in for a little while and we get to see the excitement and we go away and then we leave. So to me, to see the excitement of children learning new things that we offer them that they would not be offered any other place that they're going to need as they get out of school, makes me very happy. So I'll pass it on to Judith Ford Martin.
Good morning. My name is Judith Ford Martin, and I'm with the Star Center Theater camp director. I learned from children that they appreciate being appreciated, that they really want to be acknowledged. And the more you acknowledge them, the more that they will give out of themselves.
Awesome. Do I pick another person, or I can pick for you?
You can pick for me. Thank you.
I believe Adam Joy. Have you gone?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I had not went yet. Adam Joy from High Springs, Florida, Deeper Purpose Community Church and Deeper Purpose Kids Academy Preschool. One thing that I've learned from children is that no matter how young they are, they have feelings. And we must be very careful how we treat them and how we talk to them, because even though they may be what we think are too young to remember, it'll stick with them for the rest of their lives.
Very true. Do you want me to pick for you?
Yes.
I believe Deetra. Deetra, have you gone?
No, new day, everyone. I am Dietz Lynn, and I am the founder of Get Off Your Abs Fitness. I am a transformation coach, and it's my mission to teach children about physical fitness, about meditation, and about nutrition. So we've already mentioned, I believe, just about everything, but there's one thing that I haven't heard, is that what I've learned from children is that they're bored and they want something safe, fun, and good for them to do. They don't have anywhere to go. So that's what I've learned from children.
Awesome. Corey, have you gone? Mic check.
Hi. No, I have not gone yet. I'm Corey Chaval, founder and director of the Gainesville Circus Center.
And one thing I've learned from kids is how much we need each other. Even on my most frazzled, burnt out days, especially when I was starting out and wearing a bunch of different hats and trying to do all the jobs from coaching to business management and everything. I remember some days where I thought, I don't know if I can keep this up. I don't know if this is going to work. And just having a kid give me a hug at the end of class, or bring me a flower that they picked, or a drawing that they made for me, just made me feel like, oh, wow, this kid is really getting, what I set out to do. I'm making an impact, and this is worth it. So
awesome.
We feed each other.
All right. Do you want me to pick for you?
Yes, please.
All right. It looks like Carrie Neal.
I already shared earlier.
Oh, sorry. Katora, I want to say. Katora Bailey.
I got to introduce myself already. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I'm going alphabetically, and obviously my memory is not as good as I thought. Is there anybody else who needs to go that I missed? Sure. I think I see everybody so far. Anybody missing? Pop in.
Yes, I'm Angie Carroll, and I'm also with Star Center Theater. I serve as the public relations officer there. And what I have learned over more than 50 years of working with kids is that they like for you to set the bar high. They don't want you to think that they can only do a little bit, because they will perform where you set the bar. So over at Star Center, we found that when we set the bar high, kids are competitive and resilient, and will interact with a champion spirit. And at Star Center, where every kid is a star and they sparkle and shine, we've watched kids move from maybe subtly and sometimes shyly participating in a small group, or serve as an object like a tree or a post or a flower, and move with confidence and become one of the main characters of the leading role in a show. So what I've found out is that kids are great, and we have to treat them as though they are, and they will reach their potentials. Thank you.
Amazing. All right. Anybody else I'm missing? Nope. All right. So awesome, everybody. So thank you guys so much for sharing. And I think that centers us on like why we're here, right? We all want to see children thrive. And I think, like many of you mentioned, like we learn every day when it comes to children and youth and what their needs are. And as long as we're listening and being our authentic selves when it comes to that, and that's the most important thing when it comes to it. So thank you guys all for being here. I did want to spend that time so that we knew who was in this group, right? And you guys get a sense of who your peers are, because I don't think there's an opportunity often for you all who are already doing this work, working with children across Alachua County, to have the opportunity to kind of learn and listen to each other, and what kind of motivates you to continue to work, because it's hard work. We all know it's very hard work. So what are we here for today? So you all, opted in to join the Youth Development Capacity Building Collaborative. So today I'm going to share with you, what it's all about. And today is the kickoff of it. So today's our first convening of all of you. Obviously it's virtual, but we are taking everything we've learned today in the world of Zoom, and still want to convene and learn from each other. So one thing I wanted to share with you was this overview, which was the summer learning conceptual framework that was conducted by the University of Florida. So this overall program and the report I'll share with you guys. I'll drop the report in the chat so you guys can get a sense of it. But this was kind of the kickoff to some of the first out of school time funding that the Children's Trust funded overall. And the idea behind it was, what can we build across Alachua County, the ecosystem, where we bring together all of the little line dots together, right? That's the system. This is the ecosystem that helps support children so that all children and youth can thrive, right? And includes, learning, transformational learning, all kinds of learning, not just academic learning, but enrichment, exploratory, fitness, physical, recreation, plus the development, right? The social emotional, the grounding, the agency, lots of the stuff that you guys already mentioned are lessons learned that you've had from your own enrichments with children. And plus the equitable systems, we want to make sure that there's not as many barriers, try to reduce as many barriers as possible from entry, right? When it comes to accessibility, locations, when it comes to hours of operations, affordability. In particular, the Children's Trust, wants to make sure that these programs, basically are subsidized so that they can be supported for especially low income families across Alachua County, focusing and countering bias and prejudice, right? Helping to learn and see like what are the things and barriers that we have? Are they inclusive of all children? And helping to support them individually and collectively, right? As we all know, like there's, tends to be always a group kind of support, but at the same time, there needs to be individual support as we all said. So this is the overall system, and you guys are key members of this system. So this is why we're here together as part of the collaborative, is to start convening, start learning peer share best practices, and build capacity as well. So one of the things, so this entire collaborative is really focused on out of school time, right? And so just so that we're kind of centered on a definition, and so you know what the Children's Trust definition is. Obviously, there are many different ways of models and programs for out of school time, but for the Children's Trust of Alachua County and all the programming that's focused on it for this particular program, for us, we're using this definition. So for us, out of school time is a supervised program where young people regularly attend when school is not in session. That can be before, after school programs, summer programs, on a school campus, or maybe at a community site. These activities tend to include academic programs or specialty programs like STEM, sports, arts enrichment, or all kinds of multi-purpose array of activities, right? So this is kind of what our definition of out of school time is. And across Alachua County, we're trying to expand access to these types of programs so that they're safe and enriching program for children that are low income families in Alachua County. And these programs, we want them to, implement creative, innovative programming that meets the needs and interests. Somebody mentioned, kids are bored or they haven't had a chance as much with COVID to have some of these activities. So, making sure the programming matches their needs. Operate in a physical environment that is safe, right, and can accommodate the types of programming you want to do. Offer ongoing in-person activities. In this case, again, we're looking for programs that supervise children as well. So they need to be in person is what we're mainly focusing on. Employ highly qualified staff members capable of building those strong relationships you all mentioned, right? Like all of you here, have already built strong relationships with children and youth. So we need, again, to have qualified staff who have the capacity to build that. And also, in particular for us, obviously the world of youth development spans age infancy to 25, really. But for us, our out of school time programs are really focusing on school age kids. So we're talking about kids who are in the grades of kindergarten through 12th grade. You don't have to serve every single grade, but generally the age group we're talking about for our purposes is kindergarten through 12th grade. And we typically want our out of school programs to serve kids on an ongoing basis, right? Typically multiple times a day. Again, multiple times a day, that would be crazy. Multiple times a week. There's no particular dosage, but we're just saying, typically we will see ongoing engagement, right? And typically for us, out of school time programs aren't all one-on-one type programs. So they're more of a group type program with like ratios and things like that. So that is the definition we're using for out of school time. And again, all the programming and everything is related to this. So this is why I wanted to kind of anchor us on one definition. Any questions about this? Nope. All right, we'll move on. Are there questions in the chat? Thank you. Awesome. Yay. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything. All right. So the collaborative goals. So again, we're gathering you all today to really, one, provide free access to trainings, right? We want to, the trust has listened to providers already, have some ideas of what some of the needs are. So we want to provide free trainings to you. in which many of you have already signed up for. We also want to support capacity building, right? So that we can help implement and build the system better, right? And most importantly is convening providers around best practices and coordination of services. We want peers to help each other. We want you to share your recommendations. We want you to really be the leaders pushing the system forward, since you are on the front lines. You're the ones doing the work. So really convening you to listen and also to help each other collectively. So what can you expect? Obviously, you can expect to get free access to free training. Doesn't cost anything other than obviously your time to be here, to be part of the collaborative. We do ask that you participate in these monthly meetings. Today's a training, and then we will also have monthly meetings that based off of what you're telling us you need or want to do on what topics that are of most interest to the system. And we will also be, for eligible providers, we will be developing and implementing capacity building plans, focusing on program access, program quality, and or operational readiness for future Children's Trust funding. And I'll go over a lot of this stuff in more detail. So the first thing we asked all of you to do was to complete the baseline survey. So when you signed up, you got an email from Dion asking you to, hey, sign up for all these upcoming trainings and Zooms as you had today, but also complete the baseline survey. So if you have not completed the survey, please do so as soon as possible, because it's kind of a prerequisite as part of the collaborative. And we're using the information on that survey to really inform the programming of this, because we want to know what your needs are, and so that we can help support you as best as a peer group, right? So if you haven't done this, please do it by tomorrow. Otherwise, you might not be eligible for the capacity building funding, okay? So if you haven't done it, please do it. And I want to shout out for Just For Us Education. You're the first one to complete it. Shout outs. All right, okay. And the other thing super important are the trainings that are happening this month. Obviously today is the overview and doing business with the trust. So check mark, you're here today, very excited for us. Next week on the 18th is the After School Network training. So the Florida After School Network will be providing a training on best practices. Obviously it includes after school and summer type programming. So we really, obviously lots of you mentioned as a need is best practices. We really encourage you all to go this, and all these trainings are mandatory for you to be eligible for capacity building funding, so that we have a baseline for before you get into the capacity building stage. Okay, so if you don't go to the trainings, then you won't be eligible for the capacity building funding. The next training will be Early Learning Coalition School Readiness, which will be on October 20th. If you only serve middle school and high school age youth, you don't have to go to this training because it's meant for elementary school programs. We do encourage you to go, even if just to get questions answered and maybe, just better understand it, because the Early Learning Coalition will be talking about all the school readiness programming and the voucher programming, which is another form of funding that's available to you. So we highly encourage you to go to it. If you are elementary age, you have to go to it. And then the next licensing is the DCF licensing training. This is, again, all about DCF licensing, particularly for after school programs. So I encourage everybody to go. Again, if you've already have your license, or if you're a summer only provider, you don't have to go to that training. But again, I highly recommend it because it's worth just learning from them to answer all your questions. Okay, any questions about the trainings? Again, the trainings, we do have them as mandatory for eligibility for the capacity building funding. To be part of the collective, you can just continue to be part of the collective. If you don't want capacity building funding, you don't have to go to the trainings. Obviously, it's to your benefit. And the trainings are intentionally built so that we can build system. Did you have something to say, Dion?
No.
Okay, perfect. All right, any questions about trainings?
I wanted to speak in general.
Sure.
Some organizations have quite a few, they have staff capacity to be able to have someone to attend these meetings, and then have other staff to do other things that need to be done. And then there are small organizations like mine, CAC, who do not have staff to attend a whole lot of meetings. So I would ask if CTAC is going to be of assistance to me, it would help if you would not have so many meetings and then make a mandatory. I think you need to weed out some of that mandatory, because it seems like it's a small organization like mine who would not be able to get to all of these meetings will be punished because we don't, and we're still doing the work with the children. So I ask that you please take that into consideration.
I think we're totally listening to you and hearing you. I would recommend you reach out to Dion, because we are making accommodations for people who have scheduling conflicts. So please reach out to them. Obviously, in the ideal world, everybody goes and can attend these live trainings, but please, if you have issues with conflicts, please reach out to Dion. We're making accommodations.
Please add that when you're talking, because you sound like you're going to bring down the hammer when I don't think that you mean that.
No, I do not mean to. I do not
that
mean
you're more about being of help than of being of hindrance. So please add that, because I don't want to think, oh my God, I got to go do this program with the children, but then CTAC say I have to be somewhere. So please don't make me make that kind of choice.
I totally get it. I will say again, broadly, we definitely want everybody to attend these trainings, and all of them are virtual. So they're all going to be on Zoom, and they'll all be recorded. And again, in the ideal world, you will be able to attend, but as with all things, we're flexible. So please talk to, if you have to need accommodations, please just reach out to Children's Justice. This is not an issue. Just talk to them and they'll provide next steps and recommendations. Okay.
Okay.
But the intent with these trainings is really to build that foundational knowledge so that everybody who's in the collaborative can, one, participate and learn from each other, and also have that base knowledge to build your capacity building plans. Questions? Judith, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Okay. So next up will be capacity building plans. So after we do these, standard trainings, again, I've gone over those at length, but then we'll be able to develop capacity building funding, focusing on program access, program quality, and organizational readiness for CTAC funding. So when it comes to developing the capacity building plans, obviously these capacity building plans, since there's funding tied to them and the Children's Trust of Alachua County is a government entity, there will be additional requirements beyond participation in the collaborative, right? So we'll ask you to provide additional information. You will, fill out the form. There will be all kinds of contract negotiation type activities associated with the capacity building plan. So you don't have to, in order to participate in the collaborative, you don't need a capacity building plan. And not everybody who is in the collaborative is guaranteed funding for it, right? So again, the idea of the capacity building plan, it will include a scope of work, a budget, deliverables to achieve your plan goals. They're going to be developed and implemented during a contract period. And you're, again, totally not required to submit this, but if you want it, they will be, again, we'll have a whole process on capacity building plans and how the funding is going to work on this coming up in November. But before we get to those capacity building plans, we want everybody to get the baseline trainings. And then you'll be having to submit monthly progress reports for these until September of 2022. So any questions about the capacity building plan?
I had a question.
Sure.
The monthly reports, is that starting now?
No.
Or is that once you receive funding?
Correct. So you'll basically, the way it's going to work is, again, we're collaborative. We're all part of this. You guys don't have any contracts or funding with the trust. You guys are here because you want to be here. And then when you do get if you do get awarded a contract, then it'll have reporting requirements as part of that. Otherwise, feel free to participate. We are not excluding anybody from the collaborative. Again, it's all about helping to support children, but we do know that there is a need for funding for capacity. So there is we have an estimated budget of $500,000 for capacity building plans, which might go up or up depending on the needs. So all of this is a learning process, and you guys are telling us what you need. And a big part of that is learning from the trainings to see what does the system need, and we'll put those into the capacity building plans. And again, those would be awarded as contracts. So, okay. In addition to those, we will have monthly meetings, right? Hosted by the Children's Trust, and we'll share best practices and expertise that you guys said. One of the things on the baseline survey we asked you was, what is something that you're an expert on and you want to share with your system partners and your peers? And so we'll be having you share as well. So we really want, again, to encourage that system building. And then the other part is you guys are really advisors. So the Children's Trust of Alachua County will also be putting out funding for all out of school time programming early next year. And that is, you're part of that process to advise us on like what goes into that kind of funding, what are the requirements, what it is. So you're both peer learning, system building, and at the same time helping to develop some of the RFP or RFA requirements that go into future funding. So it's a huge opportunity for us to listen and learn about what are the needs. And then again, we'll be focusing on various topics to help build the capacity of the system. And our next meeting will be November 9th. And then that one specifically we're going to be going over is capacity plan development. So virtual, and all these will be virtual. So any questions about the activities related to the program?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Maybe to echo previous comments, maybe if you can help us understand why the decision was made to require these trainings prior to funding being released for capacity building. To my knowledge, or what I've seen is if you get accepted into a capacity building program, usually the funding, you get accepted and then the funding helps, as Nkwanda stated, fund some extra staff that would then free up upper level management or that staff particularly to attend these meetings and trainings. And so I just, maybe to help us all understand, and I think I saw in the comments, there's a lot of required trainings with no guarantee of funding at all. And I think that may not settle well with some organizations that are strapped for staff and funding. So can you help us understand that process and that decision making?
Sure. I mean, I can tell you from a system standpoint, there were trainings that needed to happen for people develop their capacity building plans. We didn't even know what to fund yet before. And a lot of the things that we need to fund are kind of critical towards like DCF licensing and things like that. So instead we've paid for trainings in advance, including the after school network. So those trainings are being provided for free so that you'll have a very targeted capacity building plan and the targeted funding for it so that we can do it a little bit more agilely and quickly when it comes to the funding. Otherwise, it would be a little too open-ended. So we would need it to have a little bit more of a strategic approach when it came to the timing of it. And that's why the trainings are happening first. So you'll have a very broad sense of what are the needs that you as an organization will need, and then what will be directly tied into your capacity building plan and what will get funded. So that's why it's happening that way. And I understand that this is not the world. It might not work for everybody, but we wanted to be very clear that as part, the biggest value in my mind is the convening and the trainings that you'll get out of this. The capacity building funding is obviously important, but I would say your ability to convene with others is the biggest value that the Children's Trust is focusing on. Does anyone have, or Dion or Christy, do you want to provide any other insight?
No, I think that was, sorry, I'm getting some feedback from somewhere. Oh, from myself. Thank you. Can you guys still hear me? Yes, all right. So, no, I think that answered the question, Anna. I think that keeping in mind that the 4 trainings, this is one of them. Not all of you would be required to attend all 4 based on the model of your organization. And just to echo what Anna said, in order for us to have the targeted capacity building funding and be able to train you guys on what that is so that you all can identify what those needs are. It's important to have those trainings up front.
All right. So, okay. So what will be the timeline? So thinking through the timeline, again, October is very much training focused, right? And I went over the trainings earlier. And then in November, we would focus on developing your capacity building plan. So once you get all these trainings, they're kind of essentially prerequisites. If you thought of like a course, if you were going through a prerequisite. And then those in November is all about capacity building plans. Again, and those capacity building plans are going to be incredibly targeted. And so we're going to be giving you a very specific template, and you'll provide information, and you'll help be working with contract managers like Dion and Belita to develop those capacity building plans. And then those capacity building plans will go to the board in December for funding recommendations. And then from there, you will get contract approvals in January. So realistically, the funding side of this, right, it would start in January. Okay. So I just wanted to get everybody clarity, because again, I know that there's a need for funding for this, but again, there's a timeline associated with it and a process kind of we're going through. So November, October, trainings, capacity building plan, and then realistically, contract approvals will happen in January. And then throughout those months, we'll be focusing on implementation of those capacity building plans, and also convening you monthly through these virtual check-ins on best practices and sharing the needs. Another thing we're going to be doing in December, which is December 9th, is a convening focus very specifically on the RFPs that are coming out related to out of school time. In that case, it's called the Input Summit. And in that case, we're going to be sharing with you before it gets released, the requirements we're playing with, and seeing what the system needs before we put out the full funding. So there will be an Input Summit as well in December. Any questions about the program timeline?
Latoya has her hand up, and then Sheree Kelly after her.
Latoya, go for it.
Hi, so just for clarification, the trainings is different than the monthly meetings?
Yes.
Okay, did you send a calendar out yet for the monthly meetings?
I don't think so, Dion. Yeah, I believe they're.
Okay, so we haven't scheduled the monthly meetings yet, only the trainings, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So will we start the monthly meetings soon, or will they be after the 4 trainings are completed?
They're after. The first one is November 9th.
Oh, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, the first one's November 9th. The next one's December 7th, I believe. Yep, December 7th. Sheree?
Hey, this is Sheree from Partnership again. I had a question about the capacity building plan. So that is in lieu of like an RFP or a funding proposal. It won't be a capacity building plan and then in addition a proposal. That is.
No, that is it. Yeah.
All right.
We're doing a different procurement for it. So
okay.
It's going to be direct to the board. So that's it.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this? I know it's important, and that we wanted to make sure everybody understood the expectations, especially the timeline when it came to funding. As I know, many of you guys need this funding for capacity building, but we also wanted to provide those trainings to you, as we mentioned. So, any other questions?
I have a question. Sure. The information that you're providing, like we're currently looking at the program timeline. Will this information be provided to us other than what we're looking at on the Zoom call?
Yes, I believe this is being recorded, and we can also send you the slides after this.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That helpful? Sure. Okay.
Yes.
We post all recording trainings on our website, and we will also send you an email with that information.
So one of the things I wanted, go ahead. There was another question. Oh, okay. All right. So one of the things I wanted to share with you all were some of the what you all responded. So if you've already completed your survey, that we sent out a baseline survey of, like, again, who are the partners that we're convening in this collaborative. So I wanted to share with you guys what you've told us so far. So of the people who've responded, we had 23 complete the baseline survey as of yesterday morning. Together, collectively, you serve over 145,000 children or youth across Alachua County, and you employ over 1,500 direct service staff across the system, which is a lot. There's a lot of kids, a lot of staff. It's pretty exciting. You got 78% say you serve elementary age in the K to 5 age grade. 100% of you did serve middle school, and then 74% served high school, which is the 9th through 12th grade. So very interesting. And as I know from some of you haven't finished your survey, so once you finish the survey, I can update this so we can get a better sense of the partner side. But I was surprised to see how many support middle schools, so that was exciting. These are the sites and where they are. Again, as of yesterday, we have 17 after school sites clustered around Gainesville area. We have one at Waldo. We got High Springs over here. And we also have the green ones are the summer only program. So some of them I didn't have full addresses, but for the most part, this is kind of what you guys are seeing. And so you can see you're spread out across Alachua County. So as of yesterday, none of you received school readiness funding. So again, we are doing that school readiness funding training. And so that's for elementary age children and programs that serve elementary age children. So if you're interested in receiving school readiness funding, even if you don't serve elementary age kids, I definitely would recommend going to that training. And if you serve elementary kids and you don't have school readiness funding, you definitely need to go to that training because it's another funding opportunity for you. Another question we asked was around DCF licensing. So over 50% of you said you didn't have your DCF license. DCF licensing is incredibly important for after school. So if you're serving after school programs, it's a whole process in getting your DCF license or your exemption. So we do have the DCF training as well. Again, knowing that this is a need. So if you have information about DCF licensing, including costs and all of that, highly recommend the DCF licensing training. If you're not sure if you are exempt, then you should go to this training. Okay. So basically it's a big deal to have your DCF license. And legally it's an important regulation, especially if you're serving elementary school kids and after school. You do not want your program shut down because they find out you don't have a DCF license. So this is why we're bringing this to you. The DCF training is coming up as well. So yay for everybody who has their DCF license. Obviously for summer, you don't need a DCF license. Again, those DCF licensing is for after school and elementary age very specifically. Okay. Again, Philanthropy Hub. So another program. So Philanthropy Hub, for those who are not familiar, is a program of the Community Foundation of North Central Florida. And it's an opportunity as well to profile your organization. It's basically a giant database to help profile your organizations, the services you have, and also allows funders to connect with you and better serve you. So many of you mentioned having a need for additional funding. So if you are a nonprofit organization, we encourage you to create a Philanthropy Hub profile, and we'll include this also in other trainings and opportunities. But it's one of those things that it's very helpful to have. If you're a for-profit entity, this doesn't apply to you. So, but just generally, it's a good idea for you to have a Philanthropy Hub profile. Transportation. So we asked you some questions about transportation. Over 2/3 of you said you didn't offer transportation. Some of you do. You offer transportation with either your own organization vehicles or bus vendors. So this is another topic we're also going to cover in the convenings: is how do we best support this transportation need across Alachua County, and seeing that the majority of you aren't offering transportation, and I'm sure a lot of you would like to offer transportation, right? When it comes to food service, we had some questions around food to see, generally speaking, 30% of you don't offer meals or purchase them directly. Some of you are using meal vendors, and some of you are either just buying the snacks or buying them from the store as well. So when it comes to like healthy foods and snacks as well, this is another topic that the Children's Trust is thinking about and seeing how to best serve, including the quality, and so they match the food. So again, this is another topic we asked you about. Now, when it came to just organizational capacity, things that, you said your organization did, a lot of you, said you're already implementing evidence-based best practices for after school and summer, using data or other information to measure your impact, including a strategic plan, actively seeking out other funding. So that was one area that a majority are you're working on, but I know it was a topic that came up a lot as a technical need that you guys would like to see. So we're going to be specifically focusing on different opportunities for you to get funding. Additionally, all of you mentioned that, you do staff training and qualifications so that you can have those high quality programs. Lots of board and leadership are engaged when it comes to your activities. And all of you said you are involved in community outreach. So very cool. So I thought this was great. And again, that baseline survey is helping us to inform what experts we need to bring to the table, like what resources we need to bring to you, what best practices do we need to elevate so that we can share and build the system better. Now, again, we also asked you to say, hey, what do you want to explore as part of this collaborative? What are areas of interest to you? A good chunk of you said best practices, right? So when it came to out of school time. So again, we are having that training with the Florida After School Network, which is all about best practices. So this is, again, reflects what you're already, some of the training we already have planned. Fundraising, again, that's another topic that we can bring forward. And again, with the Philanthropy Hub profile, that's another way to get funding. The school readiness dollars is also another way to get funding. So we're going to be bringing these topics to you as well. Other topics were mental health services, program operation, job, and college readiness. So we are taking all this information in so that we can, again, match your needs and what you want. And then the other side was content expertise. So I was very excited to see that majority of you said you had, wanted to share and be an expert on program activities, social emotional learning, all these different topics. So I will definitely be tapping into you all to share with the group some of your best practices and things that you want to share and brag about and share with others. Like, I know there are program activities that I've done and lesson plans that I've developed that are like kids love and like are super stellar. And I know others, there are so many that people I feel like can share and, go for it, steal it. So I'm on team. What can we share with each other so to make it better for everybody? Okay, another thing was technical assistance. A lot of you mentioned a lot of need for grant writing and funding, and then working with low-income families, program development, contract compliance. So a lot of this work, we will also be including technical assistance to see that where we need to put the resources. All right, so that was the baseline surveys of, again, if you haven't done it, please do it by tomorrow, and I'll include the link later so that if you haven't done your survey, we will include your information because that information is informing us of what the collaborative should look like. Now, I know a lot of you have questions about how to do business with the Children's Trust of Alachua County. So today the training is focused on this specifically, okay? So the Children's Trust of Alachua County website is the best place for you to get information about upcoming funding opportunities that get released. And also if you subscribe to the newsletter as well, you will also find information related to any solicitations, competitive solicitations that go out. So highly encourage you, if you haven't already, subscribe to the newsletter so you'll know what's coming up. And I wanted to share with you just like a little bit of history about the Children's Trust of Alachua County. So it was established in November of 2018 based off of a voter referendum. So the voters of Alachua County voted to create the Children's Trust of Alachua County, which is called a Children's Services Council. And it's one of other children's services councils that are across the state. So it's taxpayer dollars that go towards funding direct services for children and families across the county. The mission of CTAC is to fund and support a coordinated system of community services that allow all youth and their families to thrive by facilitating equitable access and opportunities for all children and families. And so they ensure all children reach their maximum potential. So this referendum happened in 2018, but realistically, the Children's Trust of Alachua County hired its first staff member, which is Colin Murphy. Many of you had a chance, I'm sure, have heard of him. He was started in 2020. So the Children's Trust of Alachua County is not particularly old. They're just kind of coming up on their 2-year really, and Christy and Dion and Belita all came on this year. So it is, what, this year? No, I'm sorry, last year. I'm already confused. Sorry. So relatively young organization. So when you think about it, again, they're just getting started. So a lot of these things are new and communications are new. Just want to be like, we don't have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers. So just like, you ask for patience with, I think the Children's Trust will ask for patience and clarity. And if we're saying something that you're not happy with, please just speak up, because I think that's just your best way forward. All right, so things that the Children's Trust funds. The Children's Trust staff and board have dedicated funding to evidence-based programs that achieve positive outcomes for children and families, right? The most recent out-of-school time programming was the summer programming we just did for summer of 2021. And that many of you on this call received summer funding for summer scholarships so that you could provide low-income families the opportunity to attend summer camps. It is a government agency, so they're committed to transparency and public competitive procurement processes to award these grants, right? So again, because it's a government agency, we're subject to sunshine state laws and also have policies when it comes to procurement. When it comes to priorities, these are the 4 priority areas the Children's Trust established. All children are born healthy and remain healthy. All children can learn what they need to be successful. All children have nurturing, supportive caregivers and relationships, and all children live in a safe community, which I think we can all agree are good things to strive for. Now, I wanted to share with you a sample of a competitive solicitation process, right? This is what would be typical when an RFP gets released by the Children's Trust. So the first thing is solicitation planning. So we gather stakeholder input, whether it's from whoever, like in the case of summer, we did the report that I shared with you, where all the summer providers had a chance to provide input on their needs, and also parents had a chance to provide input on their needs. And again, as the Children's Trust currently is in its planning process for future funding, this is an example of us gathering your feedback. That baseline survey is an example. The feedback you give us on the input summit coming up in December will also be an example of where we gather your feedback. And then from there, the RFP gets developed and then it gets board approval. Once it gets board approval, we release it out into the public so that it's a notification of funding and it's competitive, and that starts what is called the cone of silence. We will also do bidders conferences and application training, as well as an opportunity to submit questions and answers, and then the application gets submitted. Once the applications all get submitted, they are scored and reviewed by a review team, and those funding recommendations are approved by the board. And then there is an appeal process. If there's issues with the process, there's an appeal process. And then from there, contract negotiations begin, and then contract execution. So this is just a sample of what it looks like, again, for a typical competitive procurement. So I wanted to just share with you kind of some samples of kind of the minimum requirements that kind of happen when funding comes out, and they're going to be pretty similar when we release funding for upcoming out-of-school time programs like summer funding or after-school funding. All proposed services have to take place in Alachua County. They must be qualified to conduct business in the state of Florida. Must not be a charter school approved by any public school system in the state of Florida. And in this case, must have experience working with out-of-school time and must plan to offer in-person summer services. So again, this is just a sample of it. Every solicitation will have specific minimum requirements. If you don't meet the minimum requirements, you're not eligible to bid. So it's just an example. Here's a sample of what kind of content kind of ends up in a solicitation. So the terms, the minimum requirements, the scope of services. So what services we're asking people to put proposals in for, including target population, locations, requirements, staffing, data collection, budgets, the evaluation criteria, which is how the applications would be rated, how they would be reviewed, and all the submission instructions. So this is just a very, very specific example of, what you kind of can look for. Again, these are when the Children's Trust of Alachua County does a competitive solicitation, these tend to be the things that are in the content. Some of you might not have ever heard of what this is. It's called the cone of silence. Dun, dun, dun. It sounds very ominous, but it's actually a key thing when it comes to government procurement. And the cone of silence basically is a policy that ensures fairness and transparency in procurement processes. The intent is to ensure that no one is inappropriately influences the people responsible for reviewing proposals or making funding decisions, including board members or staff. So for instance, when we released the summer funding earlier this year, as soon as the funding went out, the cone of silence started, so that only questions could be answered in the very specific Q&A process. You couldn't just call Christy and ask her questions. You had to have them go through the Q&A process. Again, the idea is to ensure fairness and transparency. And the cone goes into effect from when the notification goes out, and it ends when the CEO makes the recommendations to the board. So again, it's a very specific thing and meant to ensure fairness. Any questions about this? Because I know people who are not used to government funding haven't probably heard of this term or understand it. So I just want to stop here if there's any questions. Nope. All right. Cone of silence. I think it's a fun name. I used to have a little cone on my desk when I did government procurement. It's just kind of like a little fun joke. All right, submitting an application. So again, when you're doing business with a trust, this all starts with a competitive procurement process. Typically, they will host a training, which is called their bidders conference, as well as an application training, so that if you're interested in applying for it, you get a sense of what it is, and you'll have an opportunity to submit clarified questions, again, through a specific process, again, to ensure that transparency. And if you meet those minimum requirements, then go for it. Go ahead and respond to the application. And one thing specifically with the applications is you'll have to make sure you submit them in the correct format. So if it says email this form, then you have to email that form. If it's, submit this online application, submit that online application. So it has to be very specifically using the correct format and utilizing the right forms for you to be eligible for funding. Again, that's, I think many of you had summer funding. It's the same kind of process. All right, and then once those applications come in, they get reviewed by internal and external reviewers who independently score the applications based on the criteria that's already in the RFP. They, review for soundness and completeness, as well as the capacity to deliver those services effectively. And then at the discretion, there might be interviews or site visits. From that review panel, then the executive director develops a recommendation that is considered by the board. Then the board then from there, they go into contracts, and awarded contracts are typically reimbursement based. If there's any issues, you can submit an appeal. And these are just information about the appeal process and how it works. It's normally the 5th business day after the notice of awards have been posted. And then, they consider those to see if the award should be upheld. Again, this is very specific to government procurement. So I know many of you haven't had this experience. So I just wanted to make sure we went over kind of the very specific details when it came to the government kind of side. Now, contract execution. Once you get your award letter, basically, then contract negotiations begin, and then you put together your contract and it gets signed and start all this fun process. And I'm sure Dion's very excited about it. So contract negotiation, make sure you understand everything you're signing. Again, you're entering into a legal contract, just like you would. Obviously, I wanted to also include with you the staff contacts. This is currently all the staff at the Children's Trust. for this particular program in the collaborative, Dion's your main point of contact. When you do probably contract negotiations, you will probably get split up for capacity building between Dion and Belita. But for now, all your questions, if you have questions about any of this stuff, contact Dion. But obviously the Children's Trust has more staff. Christy, who's introduced herself. You have Nicole, who's your fiscal assistant. Dan, who's communications. Mia, who works on the early childhood coordinator. Bonnie, I think the newest addition to the Children's Trust, works on research and evaluation. Elizabeth, community engagement, and Collins, who's the executive director, as well as Ashley, who is the executive assistant and clerk of the trust. So that is all of the information when it comes to kind of doing business with the trust. Do you guys have any questions about that? The work, kind of the typical kind of award process and contracting process when it comes to solicitations? Questions? Adam? Bueller? All right, so that's basically it, guys. That is today's training. Again, we were focused on really getting you a good sense of what the collaborative is and what we expect to do together. It's all about you all and convening you all around out of school time best practices and helping to support those. The trainings are coming up, and so for now, I'm gonna drop it in the chat as well. I want you to sign in. So everybody can sign in for the organization if there's multiple ones. If you have multiple people attending, feel free. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. So please sign in. You need to sign in so that we can track you for your attendance, as well as there's a couple of questions on the sign in. So please sign in. Again, if there's more than one of you from your organization, feel free to sign in more than once.
It says that we need permission.
Oh, hold on one second. Sorry about that. Need permission. 1 second. Thanks.
Yeah.
Clearly, I thought I tested it. Give me 1 second. Where's my permission? Okay, can you try it again? Working?
It works.
All right. Forgot to turn on a button. Technical difficulties.
No worries.
Thank you. All right. So I will leave it open to any questions about all the topics. Again, everybody just signs in. And for next steps, so obviously make sure you sign in. If you haven't done so already, please complete your baseline survey. I'll drop that in the chat too, in case you need it, but it's also in your welcome email from Dion.
You just need one survey per organization, correct?
That is correct. Mm-hmm. If you don't know if you've done the survey, feel free to let me know. I will look it up for you.
Also, there's a part of the survey that just says option 1. There's like a specific question that just says option 1. And would you like us to leave that blank or just check it off?
Oh, goodness. Sorry. I clearly made the survey very quickly. You can just leave it blank. I don't think it's required.
Awesome. Thank you.
Also, you have the date for the 12th and not the 13th.
Wow. I really did a great job on the survey, guys. Hey, A+ on my, but don't worry about it.
You know,
no judgment here.
Sorry.
we're almost done with 2021, so can't fault you for it.
I guess I'm bad at like the 13th. You know, I was like, oh, it's the 13th in October. I don't want to think about it. Don't worry. Thank you, guys. I need next time I'll send it to you in advance so you guys can fact check me. Or maybe I shouldn't do it in like 2 seconds while I'm doing 5 other things. It's a good lesson.
Anna.
Yes.
Will agencies be notified that their survey was completed so they are sure that they attended this conference?
No, but I can tell you.
Is that linked to me to get that information like you had the previous ones, or?
Yes, it should go to you. You should get a copy of your survey results.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you submitted it, you should get an email with a copy of your survey results.
Gotcha.
Perfect. All right. Everybody, have fun completing the sign-in sheet. And what else was I going to do? Share with you guys. Next steps, again, if you haven't done the survey, please do it by tomorrow. Ensure you're registered to sign up for the trainings. If you have issues with any of the conflicts or dates, please reach out to Dion so we can make accommodations for you. And then the next, in November, we will start the capacity building plans.
Anna, what did you say about option 1?
Option 1, just skip it. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
All right. Any guys questions about upcoming trainings, particularly the training next week, which is the Florida After School Network training on best practices?
To clarify, that's going to be virtual, not in person now.
Yes, it's switched to virtual. And
Great.
if you have more staff that you want to attend, I believe Christy was recommending that any staff you want can attend. There wasn't a limit, right? Is that right, Christy? Christy or Dion?
That is correct. Sorry, I needed to get the screen unmuted. That is correct, Anna.
Yeah. So if you have, again, like 4 or 5 staff members that you think would benefit from going to that training, feel free to invite them as well.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Before everyone go, I'm putting in the link for the next Monday training with the Florida After School Network. That link is now in the chat box. So please go in there to register for that training for next Monday. And that'll be 9:30 to 12.
Awesome. All right. And I believe also there is an upcoming Lights On for After School at the Cade Museum. So I noticed that. So Dylan, do you want to share anything?
Yes. Yes, we are hosting that. It's going to be on our patio, and from 3 to 5 p.m. It's free admission to the museum. So make sure.
Very cool. I think are you supposed to wear yellow? Isn't that like the national wear yellow for Lights On for After School?
I've never done it before, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I think that's correct. You do wear yellow.
Yeah, I think it's a yellow thing. Yeah, everybody.
It's a good color.
It's a good color, very happy color.
So if any providers are having program from that time from 3 to 6, please bring your, if possible, make it like a field trip day for your youth and come on out to this event. I know some of you have already sent us feedback that you'll be showing up, but I think we would like to see a lot of youth out there as well, or families as well with their youth.
Awesome. All right. I think that's it. If anybody has any questions or if you want to, chat, we're still here. But otherwise, as long as you've signed in and have all the information you need, we're excited to continue to work with you guys and start this collaborative.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you guys. I know, it's a lot of time out of your day, so we really appreciate you and being here.
Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Very
Thanks. See you
helpful.
soon.
Thank you, guys.
See you. Nice meeting you all. Thanks for sharing your stories. Also very exciting to see some of these Zoom backgrounds as well. Okay, you guys need, thank you.